guys, welcome back to my channel. I know that I've taken quite a long break. It's mainly to really figure things out for myself and my own life. Getting things back on track before I really have the time and effort to devote to this channel once again. And I'm going to be making a bit of a change. I'm going to be focusing my content on more of things that I've learned and things that are great for growth. So it will also be touching on general topics such as the one that I'm doing today, in addition to like the ones on personality theories. And as usual, if you would like to support me, you can click the link in the description box below where you can find all the merchandise designs for all 16 personality types. And please support me in my channel, and thanks once again. So today I will be talking about the 10 things that I've learned as someone in the late 20s. The 20s is really not easy to navigate because we have to learn so many things, finding a job, like adulting, like finding life direction and partner and so on. So I just want to share like some of the things that I have learned, hopefully to help some of you who are also, maybe in your early 20s. So let's get started. The first thing that I've learned is that victim mentality is really harmful. What I mean by victim mentality is, the kind of mindset that people have when they do not want to accept any accountability for the way that things have turned out in their life and take on to blame external circumstances, or they basically don't look at what can be resolved but look at the problems. So for example, if somebody doesn't have a job, he may blame the economy, he may blame his parents, he may blame like maybe his past, right? And people have very difficult circumstances. But what I tend to find is, being in my early 20s, I had a lot of this victim mentality, and I was, complaining a lot, and I realized that actually really delayed the kind of opportunities that I could have, accepted, because I was in a place of I can't make this happen because of X, Y, and Z. So when you find the reasons for why you cannot start something or why you cannot do something, you will always find them. So just be careful, because victim mentality is also really insidious. Like a lot of people nowadays, right, we think that it is a form of compassion, right? When we say, it's okay, like, times are really hard, so you probably cannot find somebody because maybe all men are this way or all women are that way, right? This is another form of victim mentality, because you are basically making yourself or other people powerless, instead of, talking about ways where you yourself or other people can make a change in order to have a different result. So instead of talking about how you can choose a partner better or how you can, work on healing yourself, you are just looking at the outside situations and telling them, oh, it's a hopeless situation. So once again, even though victim mentality is very attractive, because it allows you to let go of your accountability, and we don't want to feel like we are to blame. But this is actually not about blaming anyone. It's more about just accepting responsibility now that you are in your 20s, and realizing that you actually have a lot of agency to make a difference in how your life is panning out. Okay, so the second thing that I've learned is you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And I know this is very often talked about. Like people usually talk about it in more of an extreme circumstances, like, I don't know, maybe do drugs, or you are in some kind of, not very healthy friendships, then you tend to be very influenced, right, by these people's behaviors. But I think what we don't notice is that sometimes even the small things that we think, right, we are connecting with someone else, we may actually be keeping ourselves stagnant by playing into these patterns of friendships. So one example I can give you is when we bond over the similar issues that we have, rather than do better and be in a better place together. So what that looks like is you may find yourself, in a friendship, like let's say you are constantly stuck in a job that you don't like, or you are with a partner who is not treating you very well. So what tends to happen is that you may be attracted to friends who are also facing similar problems, because you guys can relate, right? You guys can like get together and complain. And while that is very appealing for a short period of time, what you tend to notice is that as time progresses, like your problems just remain the same, because you guys are having the same issues and you are just enabling and encouraging each other to stay stuck. So if you find yourself surrounded by people who have the same problems and none of you are able to really get out of it, I really suggest you might have to be alone with yourself for a while to really check in on what has to be changed. Because when you rely on this kind of friendships just to vent about your problems, it can become very stagnant, and it's actually not very good for all of your progress. And so sometimes you have to change your circle, or you have to be alone for a while to figure things out for yourself. Okay, the third point is the importance of shameless confidence. And this is actually something that I will be talking in another video, right, which is related to extroverted sensing and what it really means to learn about shameless confidence in the face of other people's doubts, and in the face of your own doubts. I think a lot of times we are encouraged to be very humble, to like ask for less, right? But actually when it comes to our own life, that doesn't really help us, because when we ask for less, we tend to get even less than what we ask for. So sometimes we really have to proceed with shameless confidence, like whether it is opportunities, right? Whether it is the kind of people that we want to know, we have to really basically do what we want to do, and we have to go for exactly what we want or even higher. So that means saying yes to opportunities even if you don't feel completely ready, because a lot of times when we let them pass by, we never really know what can come out of it. Like, for example, for me, I really had to take the leap of faith many times, right, to get to know famous like writers and people who are in the creative industry, because that's the industry that I want to work towards. And those people obviously don't know who I am, but I am obviously like I do appreciate their works, and I do want to get to know them better, and going for opportunities with confidence even if you don't feel completely prepared. Number 4 is about doing something is better than doing nothing. So that is kind of a related point. And for people who know about personality theory, you would know that people who don't have very strong extroverted sensing, right, people who have very strong introverted intuition, for example, we tend to be very analytical, and we tend to wait and think about stuff before we really do something, which is good in some situations, but it also can kind of hinder us, because we can miss out on a lot of things by thinking that we are not ready or that we are not deserving. So doing something is actually better than not doing anything, right? So an example I can give is when, again, with my writing, right, because I am, progressing in my creative writing, and in the beginning, I didn't really know, like, obviously, like looking at the very prestigious awards, I was very much intimidated, but I just have to really work on it, like on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Doing something, even when it is like a small thing to you, it actually adds up to like progress. When you're talking about years and like weeks and months, it makes a huge difference. So whatever that you're working on, just like do the thing, and don't worry about like what results you want to see. It will just appear eventually. 5 is being compassionate to yourself, and this is something that is so important, because in your 20s you tend to like have a lot of comparison game, like want to look at other people, like what they're doing, and sometimes you feel like you don't match up. And then also obviously social media is not exactly like the best way to tell how people's lives are, because you don't really know what is going on. So there's like a lot of like comparison, and also there's a lot of being hard on yourself, because you're like, oh, I'm at this age, like I should be doing much better. Or, you know, in relationships, like why am I not like, you know, having a house? And like when we are hard on ourselves all the time, we actually end up doing even less, because we feel like, oh, we are not going to make it anyway. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like it's a very like habitual thing that you have to practice, you know, being nicer to yourself every day. Number six, sorry, is speak highly of yourself. So I know that when we are younger, like especially teenagers, you know, like self-deprecating humor is sort of like, I don't know, it was like trendy for a while, you know, and people may think it's funny, but actually making fun of yourself, it's not very good for your overall development, because if you know about like, you know, how our subconscious mind works, right, we actually believe whatever that we tell ourselves. So our subconscious mind doesn't really have a filter. So if you joke about like, oh, I'm so stupid, or like, oh, I don't look good, or why am I this and that, your subconscious mind sort of believes that, right? So it tends to try to perpetuate whatever that you tell them. So it's really important to speak highly of yourself when you are either talking to yourself in your mind, or when you're talking to other people. And again, this takes practice, but just, you know, be aware of how you talk about yourself, you know, the way that you refer to yourself when you're talking to other people, and try to keep it like more in a positive, or at least like, you know, say that you are improving in something, or you're trying to be better at it, rather than saying, oh, I'm just not good at this, or, you know, I just cannot make this happen, and so on. Okay, 7 is also a related point. Go for your goals, dreams, and ambitions as soon as you can. Okay, and this is obviously going to take a lot of like courage for some people, because you can obviously, you can tell yourself like, oh, I have a full-time job, you know, I don't really have time. There's always a reason for not starting something, right? If you do have dreams, goals, and ambitions, this is actually really important, because I do believe that we need a purpose in our lives, because if we don't have a purpose, we are going to try to rely on people to give us a purpose, and that can be, you know, very harmful. We can get into an unhealthy relationship really easily, because we don't have anything that we can like, you know, anchor ourselves with. So it's really important to think about, you know, what kind of dreams you have, and pretty sure that we all have something that we want to happen in our lives, and it's very different from everybody. It requires a lot of connection with your, you know, obviously with your like childhood dreams, and also with like what you were, you know, passionate about when you were young. But everybody has some things that I really want to accomplish, and don't let, you know, life get in the way of achieving your dreams, because yes, we do need to get paid, and we do need to survive, but your dream is actually the ultimate goal for your life. At least this is what I believe, right? So, you know, taking some time, right, either during the weekends, or maybe finding a job that allows you to do that, right, that allows you to have this work-life balance. You can always find time to do the things that you want to do, if you are really, really determined to make it happen. Number 8 is prioritize yourself over finding someone. And I know, again, this is like some people don't really like hearing this, because it's so like repetitive, and people are like, you know, what do you mean, like I have to prioritize myself by not finding someone? A lot of people, including myself, in the early 20s, I thought that, you know, I should just like put in the effort to date, to meet people, like the single and ready to mingle thing, right? And like putting time to like network, and, you know, I will find a person. But actually, I realized that it doesn't work that way. Like, it's not about finding someone, it's more about aligning with the right person. Because when you are working on yourself, and when you are working on the things that you care about, you will naturally be attracting more such people into your lives more organically. However, if you are, let's say, not in a very good place in life, right? Like you're very lost and you're very confused and you don't know what to do, and you are desperately looking for a partner to sort of like support you, you end up like attracting people who are also very lost and confused and don't know what to do with their lives. So actually, the more productive, right, the more efficient way to go about it is to work on yourself first before trying to find a partner, because it would just naturally, in many situations, in many cases, it would more naturally find you rather than you having to put in all the time on dating apps and all that. And it's not going to really align you, because I do believe that dating works energetically. So when you are in a good place yourself and you are working on the things that are important to you, then it is a more natural process for you. Number 9 is we will all grow old one day, right? We all have limited time, which it sounds pessimistic, but it's actually a really important thing to know, to confront, right? So make the best of your time. Like, we have limited time, right? And you can always talk about your problems. You can always talk about, oh my gosh, like I can't live the way I want to, but we all have limited time. So we have to know what is important to us and really go for it and really try to live our life to the fullest, because youth is not forever, right? I'm in my late 20s, so I know, like when you are in your teens, maybe you think you have a lot of time. When you're maybe in your early 20s, you think you have a lot of time, and you do have a lot of time, but we will all grow one day, right? And we don't have all the time, so we still have to try to make the best use of what we have currently, right? It's not too late if you haven't started this process, but just being aware that it's a natural process for everybody, and everybody has to go through the same things. Final one is the importance of healing, right? And I know I talk about this, I think, in my other videos as well, but you know how there's always like news about celebrities getting cheated on, and people are like, they're so good looking, like why are they in a toxic relationship? Or it could be somebody who's like really, famous and wealthy and having everything, and then suddenly like the next day you realize that they have decided to take their life, or they're like very unhappy, right? And people wonder why. It's because when we are focusing on things, when we are investing our resources on external things, it doesn't actually do anything to our internal problems, because these people, right, which is the same as ourselves, being human, they have like wounds from like they're probably from their earlier times, and they have not really been doing things to deal with those things, so it ends up perpetuating. And rather than spending a lot of money on trying to make ourselves look good, right, which it's fine if you want to look good, like it does help to open doors, right, but it's not a permanent solution. Like you don't feel better just because you look good, right? I mean, it does help you maybe in some small ways, but in the end, it's about how we feel about ourselves, which is very internal. And I suggest, if you have, and you have, certain patterns in your life that you feel like, why is it repeating? It might be because of things that you have gone through in your childhood or in school. Whether it is, it doesn't have to be like really huge traumas, but it can be, right? But it can also be like things that you have gone through that you have not told anyone, and they are impacting your life today. Then I suggest that you pour in more resources to, deal with it, whether it's through therapy or it's through like, some form of healing, because those are going to be much more valuable changes to your life rather than just the external, because you can spend like thousands of dollars, right, millions of dollars on plastic surgery, for example, and still feel like you don't look good, because it is an internal thing. It's a self-worth issue. It's not a if I look a certain way, I would feel really great. So invest in the things that would really change your life for the better. So that is all. These are the 10 things that I've learned in my late 20s as an INFJ, and feel free to share what you have learned, as well as your personality type if you know of, but you can also just share generally if you like. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.